the night before I posted it, I literally cut out 10 minutes of the documentary. Never before seen. It was from Puyallup, Washington. And I think I'm going to show you a little part of that. So a few weeks ago, I released the biggest project I've ever worked on. It was a documentary covering 7 tie-down ropers and their journey to the NFR. And today I'm going to be breaking it down and showing you a little bit of what went into it, a little bit of the computer, a little bit of the project in Premiere Pro, and telling some stories about the documentary. So let's get into it. So first, I'll let y'all know what gear I used. I shot this whole documentary on the Sony a7S III and the a7 IV. I always walked around with like a telephoto or just a zoom lens on the a7S III because it can shoot in 120 frames per second, which is just slow motion for those that don't know. And so I'd always have a 70-200 or a 200-600 on the a7S III, but then I would have a 16-35 or a 24-70 on my a7 IV, and I would have a camera strap and just kind of walk around with it, like just dual wielding them things. Lens that helped me get the best rodeo shots was a 200-600 super duper, I called it the Hubble Space Telescope, the Hubble lens, because it's a 200-600, it's freaking huge. And that helped me get really up on the action when I was far away. So that's really all I used on this documentary. But let's get into this timeline. I want to show y'all roughly what this looks like. If I'm zooming out here, what y'all are seeing is the timeline. This is the movie. And a lot of y'all are probably like, what in the heck? It's kind of crazy even me just looking at it. It's an hour and 20 minutes long or whatever. His laugh is funny. And you get in here and you get the end of Tuff's part, you get Shane, then you get Ty somewhere in here. This is Ty's part, and so you just see each guy's part just somewhere incrementally. And so I guess where I want to start is I should tell y'all how I got the idea. There was a few documentaries that I've seen in the last year that really inspired me. First one was F1. I think it was Drive to Survive. F1 Drive to Survive. Formula One race car driving. They had a documentary on Netflix that went crazy. And it just documented the season. I mean, exactly what I was trying to do. Netflix series also called Quarterback, which covered Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Just the behind the scenes stuff of what went into the NFL season. Based on those 3 documentaries, it was obvious what the vague idea that I needed to accomplish was really getting the raw, uncut, what happens on the road. And I knew I wanted to tell a story from each rodeo. I knew each rodeo would be its own episode. Each guy would need to have a moment to tell a story about. Truth be told, all the way back to Denver. I was already telling people in Denver, Colorado, January of 2023. I was like, yo, I'm making this F1 deal. I was telling everybody, all the athletes, I'm making a documentary. So this was a whole year in the making. And so it felt really good to see it come into fruition, see it come into play. So basically how I started was I made all these folders, each guy that got their own episode. One is the pilot, one was my part where I introduced it. And you go in, let's go into Tuff's part, for example. Actually, no, that's a bad example because that's not organized. But you go to Shane and you have sequences. And so sequence is just you just have it organized. You have his episode. And so I broke each guy's down. You're like, how do you make that into a movie? Well, I just focused on one guy at a time and tried to tell a story. But even before that, you look at the interview. The first step in making this documentary, and I would really every video I make, it's always this first step, is you go to your audio and you just begin to scrub through and find points that you think would be good to put in the video. And that's why you see these highlights that you see here. These are just cool moments that I was like, yeah, for sure that these would go in. And you just highlight and you're like, okay, I have a vague idea, I have a vague understanding. You need to become really familiar with the interview and watch it a lot. So you're like, I know everything about this interview. So when I know, I'm like, oh, this would be good here, you can go back and find it. So you mark it up. My name is Cole Harris. 3 years ago, I had the crazy idea to buy a camera and start a podcast. That was in October of 2020. I spent the last 365 days traveling the country with my cousins Ty and Joel Braden Harris, documenting life on the road and crossing paths with some of the... So you'll see the first step what you do is I lay out these points in the interview, which I know would be good. And then you just go to MusicBed. I get all my music from MusicBed, and you begin to look for music that is close to what you want to begin to tell that feeling. You just start to look for music that you think would be good. And then you just lay down interview points, find some music that would be good. And that's all it is. It's simple. That's step one. Is you have your interview points, then you have your music, and then after you have your music, you can go and begin to overlay these video clips that you think would be good based on the interview. Based on what's being said, I'm going to begin to overlay clips that match the energy. You go into these episodes, we're going to Shane Hanche's, and you'll see I have a category of clips. And so I have all these different rodeos, and just to show you how many rodeos, I have this SD drive with all these different rodeos right here. Like, these are all these rodeos. So literally the process before, I would watch the interview, and then I would go into every single rodeo I shot for 2023. I should have been better about it and started doing it like before I wanted to edit, but I didn't because I was being lazy. I had went in and just drug every possible clip I could find of Shane Hanche, and you just drag them in here. And once you drag them in here, you just do that for every guy, and you kind of have it organized. Then you can begin to drag your clips and overlay them, in here as you see fit. The biggest problem that I had in making this is I knew each guy was going to get his own episode. I knew each guy was going to have a story to be told, but I did not know how to kick it off. And that's when I decided to introduce myself as a character, because every documentary is, we understand somebody's telling the story. But I thought, since I had a lot of footage of myself, a lot of iPhone footage, I videoed a lot of the interviews. Like, I had a camera on me too, just because I didn't know what I was going to do with them. This would be a good hook to hook everybody in, that though they came for the athletes, they would be expecting the athletes. They wouldn't be expecting the filmmaker to be in the video, because it's very uncommon. No one does that. And it would be unique to only the beginning of the video. Plus, there would be little segments of me in throughout the video that would make sense that this story is being told through the eyes of Cole Harris. I took inspiration from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's an animated movie. They do a similar intro where it's just narrated into it. That I took inspiration from that. But
you've been rodeoing.
I just walked in with my camera that time.
I bet I watched that video 700 times that day.
I spent the last 365 days traveling the country with my cousin. So, right off the rip, I was wanting to catch people's attention. Okay, this guy's obviously a videographer. Zeke Thurston, one of the GOATs, 4-time world champion. He's like, I watched that video 700 times. Lefty Holman says, he says something crazy like, yo, you've been rodeoing. And it's like, who is this guy? Just your attention is captured off the bat. Traveling the country with my cousins Ty and Joel Braden Harris, documenting life on the road and crossing paths with some of the most elite rodeo athletes in the world. And I also did this.
She goes, that's how you get 86 from a rodeo. And I just was kind of like starstruck a little bit, and I said, what is 86 to me? And she goes, that's how you never get to come back.
But we don't really talk about that. We were missing planes, fighting at rodeos, and sometimes only showered once a week. So, like, the 86 from a rodeo part 2, like, I never actually talk about that later in the documentary, or even the part of them fighting right there. Like, this is all just to hook the viewer, just to get y'all engaged, because these are all real stories. And to try to I was trying to introduce a little bit of what I experienced, as brief as I could, because I didn't want to steal from the story of the main characters, which were the 7 tie-down ropers. But this just got people engaged. And so I've been on a mission to share with the world the details that so many people don't get to see, that have made me fall in love with rodeo. Okay, tell this story. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to... Wait. Did I tell them which event I'm documenting? Oh my gosh. Okay. So the event I'm documenting is... So this part right here, my whole goal was for somebody to look up and they're like 15 minutes in to the video without even realizing they're 15 minutes in. I'm covering rodeo, but I'm covering something specific in rodeo, which is tie-down roping, and then I'm covering 7 guys inside tie-down roping. So it's like this pyramid. How do I even introduce this? And so I introduced myself as the main character, and then I just decided to throw this part in as like, obviously it would get their attention because the music stops. And so, did I tell them which event I'm documenting? And it's like, it just introduces it, but I don't actually explain it. I let them experience it for themselves through clips and through the commentator, one of the GOATs, Joe Beaver, beginning to just tell the story, and them experiencing what event I'm documenting without me having to tell them. And so this has kind of introduced that. So then you'll come in here and you'll realize that each guy has their own episode. So after I did the intro, I just went and did the process of interviews, music, kind of try to overlay B-roll as much as I could for each guy, and then slowly made progress. Each guy has their own episode. Episode 5 was Bo Cooper. Episode 6, Riley Webb. Episode 7, Shad. Like this one's not even done because at this point I was so far into the movie, I just started to work on the main timeline. So once I got to Shad's episode, I made one big sequence, which is over here, called Movie, and I began to just put them all on the timeline together. So by the time I got to Shad's episode, I was just editing on this timeline because I was so far into it. But once I added all the episodes together, basically after that was just I had to find a way to transition smoothly from each guy to each guy, which is one of my favorite parts of the doc. Is it kind of correlates, it goes from Tough to Shane. Like, guys, this is the part, like, I know it's not crazy cool, right? But like, it made me feel like a filmmaker. Like, I love Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan makes these sick movies where it's like these mind benders. And I tried to tell a cool story like that because it goes from Tough to Shane. Shane was the guy who beat Tough in 2013, I believe it was, that stopped the three-peat. And then Ty broke Shane's Cowboy Christmas record. And then Bo didn't really correlate. That just kind of went smoothly from Bo. But then Riley was the guy who beat Bo when Bo had a barrier malfunction that he lost out on the 50,000. Riley was the one that beat Bo. So I put Riley right after Bo to tell that story. And then Shad was right after Riley because then Riley and Shad had a little bit of beef. So that made sense to do it. And then Haven was right there at the end just to tie it up. And so the episodes kind of intermingle. And one little nugget that I did that I really loved was this point right here when in Shane Hanchy's episode, or it happens in Tough's episode.
Hanchy got us. He wrote
9.
took a year off. 1/4. Hanchy got us. He wrote phenomenal that year at Vegas. I didn't.
Safe start.
So Hanchy got us. Then you continue to tell a story how he won the world in 2014 again. Then you go to Hanchy's episode.
Shane Hanchy. I was afraid he was going to go with a rap and no.
Took a year off. 1/4. Hanchy got us. He wrote phenomenal that year at Vegas. I didn't.
Shane Hanchy. He's been fun to watch. He's done so much right over 10 rounds.
Man, freaking crazy.
The reason I wanted to do it is because, number one, people could then re-watch this documentary more and more and see the nuances of it. But then number two, if someone doesn't know rodeo, like if someone just doesn't know these guys, it could provide that extra little nugget of context. It's like, oh, this is the guy who beat Tough in 2013. Like, let me get interested in him. Well, then in Ty's episode, you see this.
2016 when I set the record for 32,001 in Cowboy Christmas.
I had talked to Shane before, and I had always known that Shane had the tie down open record, that he held that for the 4th, and that was, seemed pretty much all unbreakable.
So just a little bit of nuggets of context from each guy's part that tie it in. So one of the coolest moments that y'all liked was the map part in Ty Harris's episode.
Road float, flying trains, planes, automobiles, trying to do everything you can to get to the best rodeos across the country.
Sorry, it's lagging.
Greeley, Colorado. Drove up to Wainwright, Alberta, and then flew over to Prineville, Oregon. Flew back, roped at Wainwright Short Round, then Pinoca, and then drove my rig down to Greeley. Flew to Prescott, roped at Prescott on the 28th, then flew back for Greeley Short Round the 29th. Flew to St. Paul, Oregon, the morning of the 30th. Me and a few buddies chartered to Williams Lake, British Columbia that night. Chartered back the morning of the 1st, drove all night back to the airport, flew to Pinoca Short Round on the 2nd. drove down to Cody, Wyoming on the 3rd, and then went to Eugene, Oregon to finish up our 4th. You know, nothing stupid insane, but it was definitely a busy 10 days.
Nothing stupid insane, but it was definitely a busy 10 days. Like, who in the world, who does that? Bro, who travels to all those places? Nothing insane, but it was busy. I actually paid somebody to make this for me. I don't know how to animate that good yet. Like, I was trying to learn, and my skill was not progressing as fast as I thought it would. This moment was so important, so I just paid somebody a couple $100 on Fiverr to make me a map. And I know, like, they just plugged this into like a map software. They didn't even make this by hand. It turned out great. I asked him to put the total miles on it, and he said, I can't do that. I said, bro, just do it. And he's like, no, I can't do it. But so another cool story was, that's Fred Whitfield. So those in the rodeo community know Fred Whitfield is one of the Mount Rushmore goats of tie-down roping. And so I actually ran into him at the airport leaving Pendleton because he was there. I ran into him at the airport. I go up to him. It's like 5:30 in the morning, and I go, hey, like, do you want to be in my documentary? I got some footage of you I just love to like get your interview and get you commentating and stuff. And he's like, and he gave me his number. I never ended up reaching out to him because it just, like I said, I had so much to tell. Like, I had so big of a story to tell that it just would have been way too much to do. And so I didn't end up reaching out to him. But what a cool what if that Fred Whitfield almost got on my documentary. That would have been cool. The night before I posted it, cut out like 10 minutes. I literally cut out 10 minutes of the documentary. Never before seen. It was from Puyallup, Washington. And I think I'm going to show you a little part of that. And so this movie is before the big changes. And so if you come over here, 10 minutes that I had to cut out. So let's watch.
This is a big rodeo, and this is going to change a lot of things.
Craziest time of the year. Now that they added Sioux Falls, there's a lot of tension built up right here. I mean, I can tell.
I think I'm 13th right now, but that doesn't matter where you are right now. It matters where you are October 1st.
Nobody likes riding the bubble, but every little kid, I think, dreamed of rodeo, and they dreamed of being on the bubble and making it happen. And
What we go all year for, 365 days, it comes down to right here in Puyallup, Washington. Because if you make the Final Four in Puyallup, it gives you a qualification to Sioux Falls, where there's big, big money. When you lay down at night, you know you're going to nod your head the next day for a chance to make the national finals. I mean, that kind of pressure, it's going to make you or break you, you know. You see what these young guys got. You know, you got the young guys. You know, you got the Dylan Hancocks.
It's a big deal, but can't really change anything. Just gotta keep being me and do my deal. You know what I mean?
You got the older guys that have been there, done that. Jake Pratz.
I'm going to have to adapt or die. There's still a lot up for grabs, and you can make it happen.
Brush and Mittens, been around, ropes great, but he's not safe.
Today is going to tell the tale for a lot of people getting into the finals.
Cooper, if he doesn't do good today, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but he might be done.
So wrapping up rodeo's regular season, this one is marquee.
Dude, I'm looking at this now. I probably should have put this in there, guys. This is, it's not bad. It's not bad. I thought it was taking away from the overall story because the story is the 7 guys. It's not bad. I probably should have left it in.
Got big money up. You got cowboys and cowgirls that are on the bubble or just trying to hold their spot in the top 15. It's going to be a great rodeo from Puyallup, Washington.
The song's good too. The song's good. Dylan! No! Oh, tough. That's tough. The goal was, I'm going to show the hecticness of the last 2 weeks, and Puyallup is one of the, Ty said it, he's like, 365 days comes out of this right here. Dylan Hancock was number 25 in the world, but he statistically had a chance to make the NFR, because if he would have made Sioux Falls, if he would have won, top 4 in the rodeo at Puyallup, Washington, then he would have qualified to Sioux Falls, which you saw at the end of the documentary, and you can win $25,000. Mathematically, he had a chance to get into the NFR. So I just wanted to tell that story, but at the end of the day, this was about Jake Pratt, Zach Youngblood, Dylan Hancock, and I just didn't have enough story. I didn't have enough commentary, didn't have enough interview to be able to really tell it, but now y'all get to see it. Maybe next year I'll just do a documentary just on the final 2 weeks and interview every guy, and hopefully a bunch of crazy stuff happens to make a cool story. But I just wanted to give y'all a glimpse behind the scenes a little bit and tell a couple funny stories of the journey to the NFR documentary, some things I experienced, and I'm glad everybody liked it. It truly means the world to me to see all the comments on the YouTube video of this is the best rodeo documentary I've ever seen. PRC needs more rodeo content creators like this. This is good for the sport. I've seen them all, and I'm very much appreciative, and it means the world to me that y'all love it so much, because I poured my heart and soul into this. 3 months of work, it makes it a little bit, it would have been tough. It would have been tough to work on this for about 3-4 months. The night before cut out for, 4 months really, because I posted it in February, into January. 4 months of work, and for it to get 50 views, that would have been a tough pill to swallow, truthfully. So it means the world that y'all liked it so much, and we'll see if we can't make another one soon. Subscribe to the channel and keep up. I'll try to keep creating, keep posting stuff on here, and we'll see you soon. God bless.